Ask me anything here today on Jimmy Rants, so it's your turn to ask me anything. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. Come follow me right over here on Instagram. I am Jimmy Rants over on Instagram. Just all one word, Jimmy Rants. Go check me out. We do go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so thank you so much for being here today. We also simulcast live over on my Facebook page where Judy just popped in. Hey, Judy and the rest of the gang over on Facebook. And we also simulcast over on Twitch where I see Kelly and lots of people have come in over here on Twitch. Thank you guys for being here. If you're new to Twitch, by the way, go download the app. When the apocalypse happens and I'm booted off of all the other social media, Twitch will be my main feed. So go ahead and get in on the action now. Download the Twitch app. It's usually a gaming app. So a lot of gamers, they talk to each other and they have video and showing different things of the game. Well, they have a talk show category. So that's the category I'm in over there. Download Twitch, follow Jimmy Moore Rants, and you'll be able to access the show regardless of what happens on the other social media. So Twitch, thank you for being here today. If you missed the live, though, you can watch it on the replay right here on the Jimmy Rants Instagram page. It goes up on IGTV just as soon as this is over. It's also up over on Twitch when this is over. It's usually up on YouTube, but because I've been banned for a week on YouTube, it won't go up until Saturday. So hopefully by the time this goes up, it's only the day after for this episode. And then finally, check out all the past episodes over at JimmyRants.com, the official website for this show. Okay, you guys, it's another Friday, and you know what that means. Friday is Ask Me Anything. This is your opportunity to literally ask me any question that you want. If you have questions about ketogenic diets, low-carb diets, fasting, cholesterol, blogging, podcasting, book writing, anything about me, whatever you want to know. Like I'm an open book when it comes to sharing information. So if you have questions for me, this is literally the day to do it. People always ask, like in the Jimmy Rants during the week, ask like random questions. I'm like, save it for Friday. Come back Friday. I'm always here on Friday to answer open questions. But as is my tradition, while you guys get your questions ready for me, looks like Twitch has about 3 of them, so the rest of you need to catch up. I always go over a few items of interest at first, and this first one I have for you actually came from a friend of mine. I'm going to keep this person anonymous and the company she's working for anonymous, but she got this letter just yesterday and sent it to me and said, what do you think? So the letter reads, "Good morning. Attached is a letter issued by this company regarding the need for my friend's job to be V-worded for 9-1-Divock. This letter may help you get prioritized so that you get the V-word if you wish to do so. In order to find information, I would suggest the following. Check your State Department of Health website for V-word centers and information, and check with your provider. Be sure to let them know you have this letter. Thanks so much," and the person's name from the company. So this particular job that this friend is in happens to be one of the kind of essential workers that are out there, and they're on the front lines of working. And so this letter is probably not uncommon. This kind of letter is probably going out to a lot of people right now. And they're bumping them to the head of the line for this V word. The wording is very interesting. It doesn't say you have to take it. It says we're giving you priority if you wish to do so, taking the V word. But I thought it was interesting because how many of these letters are going to go out to various people and for various reasons? And there might be, at least in the back of people's minds, oh, well, what if I choose not to wish to do so? Will there be any concerns that they might lose their job? So very interesting little letter I thought I would share with you guys here today. But speaking of 9-1-Divock, the World Health Organization has now weighed in on the PCR test. So if you don't know what PCR test stands for, polymerase chain reaction. So this is the test that they use to determine if you have 9,1-divoc or not. Now, let's be very clear. It's never tested for 9,1-divoc. That's not been isolated in a lab, and PCR test was never designed to test for it. So everybody that tests for 9,1-divoc, you're not. You're testing for basically general coronaviruses, which could be the common cold, could be the flu, it could be a lot of things, not just 9,1-divoc. So anyway, up until now, and I've talked about this before, they have allowed kind of this duplication process to be able to amplify any particle that they find, amplified enough to see so that they could give you a positive test for 9,1-divoc. And the amplification is somewhere in the 35 to 40 range. Well, once you get over 24 amplifications, it starts to distort the data. Well, now, guess what happened? The World Health Organization has come out and said, oh, no, we need to follow the instructions for these PCR tests so that the specimens are interpreted properly. Well, what does the instructions say? No more than 20 to 24 amplifications. So what this is going to do, you guys, and you need to be aware of this, this new WHO declaration, which happened to come out on Wednesday, pretty silently. I don't think it got a lot of fanfare. But they now are going to throw out any weak positive tests because they won't be able to amplify it to that 35 to 40 anymore. They have to stay no more than 20 to 24 amplifications. So what's going to be the result? There's going to be less positive cases for 9,1-divoc. And my fear is somewhat it's going to be a bait and switch. People are going to be so used to hearing about cases. They're going to be so used to hearing about deaths from 9,1-divoc, What's going to happen when those cases go down and people die, but they don't have 9,1-divoc anymore? It's going to appear that maybe the V word is working, maybe some of the measures put into place are working. Just keep that in mind as you watch things unfold. But that was a very interesting. It's right there on the World Health Organization website if you want to look it up, and who.int, and just look under their news. Literally, they said we've got to start paying attention to the guided directions for the PCR test and not to misinterpret them. And up until now, they've been misinterpreting them by allowing for amplification of up to 35 to 40 times. That's not cool. That's not cool. Alrighty, if you're just joining us, it's Ask Me Anything Day here on Jimmy Rants. So this is the day, Friday, traditionally, where I open up the floor to you guys to literally ask any question that you have for me. I have lots of knowledge about low-carb ketogenic diets, fasting, cholesterol, health in general, also book writing and podcasting and brand building, entrepreneurialism, positivity, childhood trauma, you name it. I've done so many things. And so literally ask me anything. And we're at the portion of the show where I give little tidbits at the beginning. I found this article, 4 Surprising Causes of Anxiety That You May Have Overlooked. I thought this was pretty good. The first thing, sleep deprivation. It's a weird circular symbiosis when it comes to sleep deprivation and anxiety. A lack of sleep can cause you to be anxious. And having anxiety will cause you to lose sleep. Kind of feeds into one another. Research shows that some form of sleep disruption is present in nearly all psychiatric disorders. Studies also show people with chronic insomnia are at a high risk of developing anxiety. So I guess the moral to this story is try to chill and try to get good sleep. So I post my sleep data every single day over on my Living Low Carb Man Instagram page. Go look it up on the stories. Every single morning, that's one of the first things I do in the mornings, is I take a snapshot of my Oura Ring results and I post it right up there so you can see. The last couple of days have been phenomenal. I want to say last night I got almost 3 hours of deep sleep and an hour and a half of REM. And the day before it was similar. I had over 2 hours of REM and over 2 hours of deep. So trying to put that focus on that really helps to keep your anxiety levels low. So that's a good one. Another surprising cause of anxiety you may have overlooked, thyroid issues. Hormones secreted from your thyroid contribute to anxiety because they regulate neurotransmitters in your brain. If you suffer from hypothyroidism, regulation is difficult. When your thyroid hormone is not functioning well, the neurotransmitters go haywire, causing not only anxiety, but also panic attacks. Exacerbating the anxiety stemming from haywire hormones are physical symptoms that are associated with hypothyroidism, from thinning hair to a puffy face. Definitely doesn't help your anxiety. Number 3, nutrient deficiency. So if you're deficient in any of the following vitamins, it can lead to more anxiety. B and D, magnesium, tryptophan, and they listed magnesium again. That's funny. Don't miss magnesium, I guess is what they're telling you. All of these contribute to anxiety, whether it's affecting your nervous system or the biochemical reactions in your body. So vitamins B, that's the energy vitamins. Vitamin D, that's the sunshine vitamin. It's the one I've been boosting since 9-1 Divock hit last March. I've been taking about 25 to 30,000 IU of vitamin D3 gel caps a day since this whole pandemic went down. Magnesium and tryptophan. And then the last one, adrenal fatigue is also a surprising cause of anxiety. It's a term referring to fatigue and corollary symptoms due to an ineffective adrenal gland. Adrenal fatigue causes an imbalance in hormones like norepinephrine and epinephrine within your sympathetic nervous system. The imbalance acts as a catalyst for anxiety because the sympathetic nervous system overactivates, affecting how your body is primed for stress, things like standing up, public speaking, or an appropriate fight or flight response. So I love that from AOL.com if you want to go look up the 4 surprising causes of anxiety you may have overlooked. So, everybody looking forward to the Olympics this summer? We had to put them off last summer because of the pandemic. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but Japan has reportedly decided to cancel the 2021 Olympic Games because of the ongoing concerns over this virus. This just came out. They're looking now to move to Japan in 2032, the next eligible time to do it. But they definitely did not want to do this, but they feel like public safety and travel restrictions and everything. This just crossed the wire like an hour before I got on Timmy Rants. I thought I would let you know because it is a nice distraction usually during the summer to have the Olympics. I like the Summer Olympics. So no Summer Olympics this year. It's going to be interesting because usually in the 2 years after the time when the Olympics happens, which will be next year, is when we have the Winter Olympics. So are they going to do the Winter Olympics before they do the Summer Olympics? That would be unprecedented because if they push this to next year. But then that also makes the turnaround to the next Summer Olympics only 2 years. And it's like usually these guys prepare for 4 years. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to watch how all that unfolds. But I feel bad for the athletes. Some of them, this is their dream of a lifetime, to play in the Olympic Games. They've worked their whole amateur career to get to this point. And because of this pandemic, things have changed. Kind of feel bad for them. Are you a fan of podcasts? Well, if you listen to me, you know I've got the Living La Vida Low Carb show. I've got Real Talk. I've got One Step Deeper podcast. I've got a lot of podcasts and I've done a bunch in the past. Well, how do you listen to my podcast? You probably listen on one of the popular ways to listen, the little podcast sites. One of them being Apple Podcasts. Well, guess what? Apple is considering a move that would upend podcasts forever. Guess what they're doing? They want to start charging service fees for you to access Apple Podcasts. Spotify has definitely done this, and Joe Rogan got a huge deal from Spotify to go exclusive to them. And so in order to access any of his podcasts, you have to subscribe to Spotify. Well, it looks like Apple's like, well, wait a minute, we want a piece of that puzzle. So would that discourage you from listening to podcasts if you had to pay a subscription in order to access them. Now, let me tell you what Jimmy Moore is doing to give you access to my podcast to get around this. I'm posting it everywhere, both in video and audio format. In the audio format, it's available in all the places that you would want to listen. Stitcher, Spotify for free, Apple Podcasts for now until they start charging. So I don't know what Apple's thinking if they actually try to do this, because there's enough places to listen. But I'm also putting it in video format in a variety of places. So I'm putting it on my IGTV, on my Living Low Carb Man page. I'm putting it up on YouTube. So there will be lots of places for you to access my podcasts for free. Worst case scenario, we will figure out a way to make sure you can access them for free always on my website. And so you can listen directly on my website, llvlc.com. You'll always be able to get my podcast for free. I suppose from a business perspective, I don't blame Apple for wanting to monetize their podcast. They have well over 1 million podcasts on their platform. So they think they have this wealth of information. But part of what helped them grow was creators like me were glad that they had an availability of something for free. So no way, Jose, unless I get a piece of the pie, I suppose, and then I would disclose that and da-da-da. And they're not going to give us a piece of pie. No, there's no way. They're not going to do that. Yeah, Joe Rogan caught a lot of flack for doing his exclusive deal with Spotify. But honestly, as a longtime podcaster who busts his tail creating content, and I think pretty good content, I don't blame him. Like, he does a good show. He has a good time. It gets a lot of earballs. And people like what he does. He should get paid for that. I can't say that if Spotify came to me and said, hey, we'll give you blank amount of money to come exclusive to us, I don't think I'd turn it down. Honestly, guys, like, you have to look at it from that perspective. But if Apple's going to do this just willy-nilly just so they can line their own pockets, no thanks. I won't participate in that. All right, and the last one. Did you hear one of the vegan doctors out there has called for carnivore diet advocates to be put into jail? This is not a joke. It's an actual headline in a story. The carnivore diet, which involves followers eating an all meat or mostly meat diet, was debunked by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. So I've known Dr. Fuhrman for as long as I've been online in the nutritional health space, which is 17 years. And I remember early on, he was one of the big plant-based doctors. He's not as big anymore. There's others that have superseded him. But I remember asking him for an interview on the Living La Vida Low Carb show. I'd already had on Dean Ornish, a couple other vegetarian vegan people. He said, quote, "You're not big enough for me," end quote. I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks, Dr. Fuhrman. Appreciate it. Like, my style is not combative. My style is conversational. I want to talk to people, pick their brains, see what they think, and go from there. Like, I don't see what the big deal is, why there's such kind of this vitriolic kind of tone when it comes to meat eaters talking to plant-based eaters and vice versa. Now, I did have one very contentious interview, very famous, episode 686 of the Living La Vida Low Carb show. You longtime listeners, you know about Dr. John McDougall and my conversation with him. I was very kind and respectful to him, and he pretty much was an arse to me. Let's just put it that way. So, but Dr. Fuhrman in this article thinks that people who push for a carnivore diet should be put in jail. He said this on an episode of Mark Bell's Power Project podcast. Let's see. Dr. Sean Baker has showed the benefits of including satiety and appetite regulation, eating carnivore. Based on the strength of the evidence, there isn't much, so we can't make claims that it's a miracle diet. This is Dr. Fuhrman talking. It will not make you live longer. You can't make those claims. It's not going to save you from any kind of disease. Eating red meat, it might make you healthier, And for a lot of people, this is Dr. Baker now responding. It might make you healthier. And for a lot of people, it has. And it will cure you of your veganism. That I can say definitively. Dr. Furman then says, you're getting a lot of bad information. It's killing people. Those people should be put in jail. We should silence them. Sidebar. We have to get over this. If you disagree with someone, that person needs to be silenced. Look, we have differences of opinions. We're all going to always have differences of opinion. Many of you guys write to me and say, hey, I don't agree with some things that you say on Jimmy Rants, but I still love your show and I still love what you do in the spirit of what you do. We see your heart and where you're coming from. And that's literally all I ask for when you watch my show. I don't want a bunch of people that go, yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. I sometimes push the envelope just a little bit to see if I could get someone to push back, because I think that's where you learn. You learn from one another by pushing each other to be better and to learn things you don't know. So, but this idea, we should silence them. No. Dr. Furman, we don't need to silence anybody. I want to hear your theories about why you think a plant-based diet is wonderful. I want to hear Dr. Baker's theories about why he thinks a meat-based diet is wonderful. And then let's hear the arguments and then let people logically think them through, critically think like we talked about on yesterday's show, and then let the chips fall where they may. You're going to believe what you're going to believe based on all the evidence, not silencing one side and only allowing one other side to be heard. Meat has no micronutrient load, says Dr. Furman. It has no phytochemicals and antioxidants. It doesn't diffuse free radicals. A piece of chicken is like a bagel. They both are sources of calories with no significant load of micronutrients. Where is this guy getting this from? Meat is one of the most nutrient-dense foods you could possibly consume. Like literally. And I've talked about this many times before. The top 20 most nutrient foods in the world, top 20, are all animal-based foods. No superfoods, no plant-based foods. Meat, mostly beef, tend to be in that most nutrient-dense food. So it's interesting. Dr. Furman wants to put carnivore people in jail. Yeah, good luck with that, Dr. Furman. All right, that's all the headlines I had. And if you're just joining us, we are on Ask Me Anything here on Jimmy Rants. This is my tradition on Fridays. I do thematic ones Monday through Thursday, but Friday I open the floor to you guys to literally ask me any question that you want to do. Want to ask of me about keto, cholesterol, fasting, book writing, podcasting, childhood trauma, you name it, whatever you want to ask. So I'll get to you guys here in just a minute. I'm going to go to the questions that came in ahead of time. I had a couple off of the little thing here, so let's put them up on the screen. I've been carnivore for 3 years and 10 months. Yesterday I had nothing but ribeye, and that was all I ate for food. I did have some hot tea with a splash of cream and vanilla in the afternoon. I did not eat anything after 1 p.m. Blood sugar 107. This morning, ketones 0.3. I usually range around 76 to 92. Why? And ketones 0.5 to 1.0. Why would they be high this morning? Talking about blood sugar. All right, so context. Blood sugar is not something that necessarily stays static. So if you normally have a 76 to 92, is that your normal in the morning, or is that just normal in general? If it's normal in general, then your morning reading can tend to be higher. And we've talked about this before. There is this thing called physiologic insulin resistance, Shimoji effect, dawn phenomenon. They all mean the same thing. It means that your body is going to tend to have higher levels of glucose in the morning. And that higher level of glucose actually serves a really good purpose, because there are glucose-dependent functions in the body that your body actually needs glucose. And so when you're waking up in the morning, part of the thing that wakes you up, starting about 2 hours before you wake up, is you get a cortisol increase. Well, when your hormone cortisol increases in your body, it also raises your blood sugar. And so when you wake up and then you test your blood sugar, once you've been awakened by the cortisol response, yes, you're going to have a higher level of blood sugar. But what happens is a couple hours after that morning reading, you see it falls right back into the normal range again. So it's not a big deal. And because your blood sugar is a little bit higher, that would push the ketones lower. Again, not a big deal. So that would be one theory I have about this. Another one would be, are you under any particular kind of stress? Because stress will also raise your blood sugar and lower your ketone levels. So it's nothing to worry about. Definitely the trend is what I would be looking for. And if you want to see what the long-term trend is in your blood sugar, don't look at any one reading. Look at your HbA1c. So if your A1C is below 5.5, you're doing pretty good. Like, don't fret. I think we get so caught in the weeds that we can test things that we get in a tizzy when we test things and they show us something that we think is bad when it's really not bad at all. But thank you for your question. Let's go to this next question. Ooh, this is a long one. The crux of it, because it got a little bit truncated, I've increased beef in my diet. I've been eating a lot of lamb and pork before now. I've increased the proportion of beef to about 70% of my diet. I'm currently experiencing a lot of acne on my face, as well as my wife is also doing that. We've always had an issue with acne, but after following keto and carnivore, skin had cleared up. Could the increase in beef be the cause, and what's the solution? So this was an interesting one. So the first thing I thought of was, I wonder if there's something in the beef itself, if it's conventional beef, that might be causing a reaction. So that was the first thing I thought of. I also, since you primarily eat pork and lamb, I wonder if you have maybe an allergy to beef. So certainly, I think those two things could be a culprit here. I would definitely be interested in having people who do carnivore to maybe chime in on this one, because I don't really know what else would be causing this breakout, other than maybe he's getting a little bit of an insulinogenic effect from it, but he's also eating protein with the lamb and the pork. So I'm not sure what is unique about the beef that would cause this if it's a protein issue. So it's got to be that there's some quality in the meat, something in that meat that's causing that, or some kind of an allergic reaction to beef. You can test both very easily. And I did encourage him, please reach out to Sean Baker and other carnivore diet experts who kind of live and breathe in this case. But I would love to hear if anybody has any theories as to why that happened. All right, so let's go. I had a question come in here. Which researchers and journals are a must follow to stay informed, besides you, of course? Well, I try to bring you all the relevant researchers and journals. I think the British Medical Journal is unbelievable. I think it's got some of the best articles that I think actually follow science. And sad to say, and I did an interview with Dr. Kristen Bear, a medical doctor out of San Diego who's into ketogenic diet. She was on the Live and La Vida Low Carb show this week. You can go listen to it on the podcast, or you can go watch it on YouTube. But she made that comment that so many of the big journals have been overtaken by pharmaceutical companies and representatives that have their interests in mind. So what they publish is incredibly biased. So BMJ is one of the least biased ones. Plus One is another one that is a journal that's not as biased out there. Now, as far as researchers themselves, I think anything that Dr. Jeff Volek does is extraordinary. I think Dr. Dominique D'Agostino is another one. Dr. Lucia Aronica is another big name you want to pay attention to. There's a bunch of them out there, and I'm insulting some of my friends in the research world, but they're out there. And plus, if it's big, it's coming on Jimmy Rants. So I promise you, if there's anything big in the research world, I'm going to keep you in the know, because that's what I do. All right, guys, thank you for those questions. And now we're going to come to you. Once again, it is Ask Me Anything, so it's your chance to ask me literally any question you want to. We're going to go here first to Instagram, then over to Facebook, finally over to Twitch. Thank you all for being here today on Timmy Rants. TimmyRants.com is the website. Angie says, a friend thinks I should get a scale that measures everything, not just weight, fat, water, bone. Do you think it's worth getting? Yeah, those scales, there's various ones out there. They're called body impedance scales. And yeah, they show you the breakdown. I think it's instructionary. That way you get the proper context of what your weight is. Because when you get total weight, it's kind of like knowing your total cholesterol. Doesn't really tell you a whole lot. But if it breaks down, water weight, bone, all of the everything, at least you get context that, okay, I'm losing body mass, which would be fat mass, or, oh wow, I'm higher in water today for some reason, so maybe you're a little bit bloated. So anyway, I think it could be instructional. Anything that gives you added information about what's going on in your body, I think is always a good thing. So give it a go. Tanata is the name of the scales that are the best in that area. So if you get one, TANATA is the kind of scale to get. Joshua says, my worry is that the cases will go down and all the people aren't aware of this will be fooled if they pull the same stuff again. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And what he's referring to, if you came in late, the World Health Organization has now said, oh, all those PCR tests where we've been amplifying it 35 to 40 times? Yeah, we weren't supposed to go that high, so we're going to make you do it by the book now. It should only be 20 to 24 times amplification. And so now we're going to see a huge drop in cases. Because we had all these cases, but very few people getting sick. All these cases, very few people dying. Now we're going to see less cases. And with less cases, we're going to see a total change in what's going on. And I heard through the grapevine that a lot of the news services, TV outlets, are no longer doing the running death toll of deaths, which I think is horrible that they were doing that. I get it. It's kind of a ratings thing for a while, but maybe it's just lost its appeal. I don't know. I would find the cheapest price. It would hurt the people that I only listen to occasionally. Oh, talking about the charging for podcasts. I feel people do what works best for them. Yeah, I agree. Ideas should stand by their own merit. Carnivore definitely has its place in the tool belt of the individual, always. Val says, keto for 4 years, but I started carnivore in December. My glucose has dropped, and I am so happy to add the dawn effect. Mine has gone from 130 down to an average of 115. After meals, I'm under 100. That's pretty typical postprandial readings for eating carnivore. Thank you for sharing that. And that's being a type 2 off all medications. That's beautiful, Val. Wall 1 Pat says, I heard dairy can cause acne. It can. Are they eating dairy for the remaining 30%? It didn't say in their email, their DM that they sent to me, but that's an interesting one, that yes, dairy can certainly do it. And the way acne works in that case is it raises, the dairy raises inflammation and raises insulin a little bit. And so that would be the argument for why it would cause these outbreaks. But yeah, thank you. I didn't even mention the dairy. I'll definitely reach back out and mention that to them. Terry says, if my HbA1c is 6.2 due to the long-lived red blood cell theory, because of going carnivore, how can I get a better result? Should I donate blood? Bloodletting certainly is a great strategy for a lot of reasons. You can lower iron levels if you have hemochromatosis, but it can be a good way of kind of cleansing the blood as well and regenerating new blood. So certainly that could be something. I would also say just over time, it's going to normalize the longer you keep carbohydrates out of your diet. So I wouldn't lose faith. I've never heard of somebody with a 6.2 A1C eating carnivore. So I guess it's how long you've eaten carnivore. What was it before you went carnivore? Like, I need some more context there. but 6'2" is a little bit high. All right, thank you, Instagram. Let's pop over here now to Facebook, and then we'll come over to Twitch. Thank you all for being here today. What's up, Facebook? See what you have to say. You guys have been quiet on me lately. I see you guys, a lot of you watch, but you don't engage in the show. Does coffee raise insulin, says Nelly? It can. I think some people, it does have an insulinogenic effect. I don't know if it's the caffeine in the coffee or if there's other properties in the coffee. You would also have some people make the argument that the mycotoxins in there raise some inflammation and raises insulin that way. So I think the only way you could test is to do the test yourself. Now, that would be tricky because you can't test insulin at home. You'd have to go to one of these labs. I've done this before with protein. You got to go to the lab, get your blood work done, see what your insulin is, then go out in your car, drink a whole bunch of coffee, and then wait and wait and wait for about 1 hour, and then go back in, test your insulin again, and you'll see if it spikes your insulin. That's really the only way you could know. And I don't think it happens in people across the board. I think it's certainly an individual basis kind of thing. But I have heard from a lot of doctor friends who say, oh yeah, sometimes people are having trouble and they're drinking a lot of coffee. They cut out the coffee and the weight comes off. Their insulin normalizes, blah, blah, blah. Margie says, how would you suggest lowering your insulin faster? It's going down on meat-heavy keto, but would like to be going faster. Time. You got to be patient with it. Keep in mind that a lot of the mechanisms that get your blood sugar and insulin levels to get elevated took years, if not decades, to put into place. And if you have some level of insulin resistance, which most people do, it's going to take time to heal that. So until you fully heal the insulin resistance, fully get insulin sensitivity back, you're not going to see your insulin levels go down quickly. I struggled with that for a while. I had upper teens in my insulin as of just a few years ago, and then it slowly came down to the low teens, and then it came down close to 10 and 10 to 12, and now it's kind of in the 7 to 8 range. So it's just, you got to take time and not fret about it. It raises my blood sugar without cream, says Nelly. Yeah, talking about coffee. Yeah, it certainly can do that. All right, thank you, Facebook. Let's pop over here now to Twitch. What's up, Twitch? Hope you guys are doing well today. Saya says, I've heard you talk a lot about the 2 V words that are currently out there, Pfizer and AstraZeneca, or Moderna. Have you looked into the other one that may be coming out by Johnson & Johnson? So Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca both have one. No, to be honest, until they're out, until we know what's in them, and they publicly share that information, we won't know. So once they're out, then is when I will comment on those. Kelly says, why do carnivores not show high ketones? Thanks. So Kelly, there's a lot of reasons. That's a great question, by the way. There's a lot of reasons why carnivore dieters don't necessarily show ketones. It is a carbohydrate-free diet, but it's not a glucose-free diet. Let me explain. When you eat carnivore, you're going to probably eat more protein in your diet than you would if you were a low carber and you're pursuing ketosis. A lot of the carnivore people would say, well, our goal is not ketosis. It's just to make sure we get ample amounts of protein with the natural fats that come with it. And I totally agree with that. I think once you eat carnivore, you're actually optimizing your body's ability to fat burn. Let me explain that a little more. When you take the carbohydrate completely out, you're pretty much relying on your body to use ketones for fuel. When you eat keto and you keep a few carbs in there still, those carbs get turned into glucose. So if you're eating high fat, moderate protein, and low carb on your ketogenic diet, you're still going to show really good levels of ketones because you're using the glucose from the carbs you eat for your fuel. And what's left in your blood is a higher level of ketones. Whereas when you're eating carnivore, you're not having any glucose formation from the carbohydrates because you're not eating carbohydrates. And so therefore, as you make ketone bodies, you are using those for fuel Ergo, you're going to have less fuel in the blood, which means less ketone showing up in the blood. Does that make sense? So it makes sense to me. Now, are they still in ketosis? You bet they are. And the ultimate goal with anybody trying to pursue ketones is basically a zero ketone, meaning you have all the benefits of ketosis, but you're not showing it on any kind of meter, because as you make the ketones, you're using those exact ketones and it's a net zero. So that's my explanation as to why carnivores don't have high ketones. High ketones has never been the goal. High ketone usage is the goal. And I think that's where some of the messaging in the keto community has been lost in translation. We don't want high ketones. I don't want to see a 4.5 on the blood ketone meter. I want to see 0 and yet feel all the effects of nutritional ketosis. But thank you for that question. What are your thoughts on the value of bone broth related to tissue, brain, and cardiovascular health? I love bone broth. I think bone broth is gut healing. I actually love not just bone broth, but collagen. I make these little collagen bites. I made some the other day, and they didn't quite fully gel up, so they're kind of squishy soft on the top and the gel on the bottom, so I have to like scoop them out with a fork, but I've got some in the fridge now. I think they're wonderful. I think they serve a lot of purposes in the body, so absolutely. Big fan, Marcus, big fan. Anna says, big push right now for the V word in New England. My family has already had 9-1 Divox, so don't need it and wouldn't have taken it even if we had the disease, hadn't had the disease. Today I was finally able to select an option to no longer receive these push phone calls. Yeah, I think they're pushing it very, very hard, because part of the strategy of the World Health Organization lowering the threshold for the PCR, they're going to be lower cases, and so they're doing the big push for the V word now to try to get as many people to take it as possible. Marcus says, can you go on iHeartRadio? So I don't know how that works. If iHeart has to invite you, not sure how that works. I have listened to plenty of things on iHeartRadio. And again, if any organized kind of group like that would want to approach me to have my podcast on, I'd be all ears to hear their offer. Cariana says, what kills me is that vegans are calling low carb keto carnivore eating extreme. Oh, they've always called it that. That's literally all they have, because they think animal foods are basically the same as how we see processed foods. They see animal foods in the same way. So you can't reason with those kinds of people. Marcus says, if Furman's diet style is so great, why does he have 3 supplements for sale on his website? My only supplement is distilled water. I'm not opposed to supplements, but yeah, these guys, they always have to kind of toe the line of what they want to preach, but then they need to make money off of that as well, I guess. I don't know. I like mineral water just for the taste. Any insights on water drinking? I use just a filtered water system here, and I get my minerals and electrolytes just on my own. So I take my own separate magnesium and sodium. So no, I don't do anything fancy with my water. Fat Burning Man, what's up, Abel? So happy to see you on Twitch. It's my new favorite. Yes, and like I said, if the apocalypse happens and they take me off of Instagram and Facebook and all the rest, Twitch is going to be my main feed. So I'm trying to push people over there now so that even when, like if one day you come and I'm not here on Instagram or I'm not here on Facebook, go find me on Twitch. I'll be on somewhere, and we are working on directly from JimmyRants.com. My web guy is feverishly working on this now for me to go live directly from JimmyRants.com. We're trying to figure out the streaming part now, and what we're going to need as far as bandwidth and all that stuff. So just stay tuned. All right. I thought I saw something else come in over here. Are you familiar with Dr. Ann-Louise Gittleman? Marcella, I have interviewed Ann-Louise twice on the Livin' La Vida Low Carb show. Big time anti-sugar lady. Love her. Yes, she's wonderful. What are some good reference books or articles on intermittent fasting, says Dana. Wow, Dana, I didn't realize that there was no book on fasting out there at all. I'm a little biased. I wrote this book with Dr. Jason Fung, the premier fasting doctor in the world, The Complete Guide to Fasting. Go check it out. But yeah, there's a lot of really great people. If you go on Instagram, Fasting Doctor over there, Dr. Cecily Ann is wonderful. And of course, Dr. Fung and his clinic, the IDM clinic, is over there as well, providing information on fasting. Lots and lots and lots of resources on fasting. So, and I think I saw that Dave Asprey has a new book about fasting as well. So lots of options for you. What are your thoughts on Gab or Clout Hub? I don't know Clout Hub, but I am looking at Gab right now. I mean, all of these alternatives to the traditional sources are certainly being looked at. The problem is none of them have really impressed me that much. None of them are ones that I go, ooh, gotta go there. So I'm still evaluating where I want to go. I do think traditional outlets like Instagram and Facebook are on the way down because of all the censorship, and it's obvious there's censorship. You don't even have to be controversial to be censored now. I've seen a lot of my friends that just, all they do is post recipes, but they're keto recipes, and they don't want keto recipes out there. So they will take you down. I took a lot of bone broth while I was pregnant. Yeah, a lot of people do that. All right, let's come back over to Instagram. Carnivore for a year, 5 carbs a day, off of all meds after being diabetic for 2 decades. My ketones stay in the 0.7 to 1.8 range with a 140 blood sugar. Isn't that weird? That is weird. That really is weird. But maybe you're healing. Maybe that's part of the healing process, is for your body to raise the blood ketone. That is interesting though, because usually that high of blood sugar, you can't have that high of ketones. Keep an eye on that, because when you have higher blood sugar, but then your ketones start to go higher, I get a little bit concerned about acidosis. So just keep an eye on that. Don't let that get out of control. All right, you guys, I don't see any other questions that have come in here. So thank you so much for being here today. I love Fridays where we can do Ask Me Anything. I love opening the floor. Before I go today, since we've got a little bit extra time, I want to address one final topic here today. And it's something that's been burdening my heart, and I've been writing a lot about it. So this week I wrote a goodbye post to the former president and thanking him for his service to our country. And the crux of the post was about America. Where are we going to go next? How are we going to be united? We need to come together, da-da-da. And I lost 700 Instagram followers because of that post. Now, I was expecting to lose some followers, and I'm not worried about the loss of followers per se. What I'm concerned about is what it represents. It represents this vitriolic kind of tone we have with each other. And I've never been about that. I don't like the argumentativeness. I don't like any of the just butting heads over things. I don't like the idea that how dare you have an opinion different than mine. And so I lost 700 people, and it was ugly in the comment section, saying all kinds of nasty things about the previous president. Today, I posted a letter to the new president and wishing him well, and his call for unity, and his desire for us to come together as the United States. And he totally agree with that. And I started to get some kind of nasty comments on that one too. And I'm thinking, that's the problem. We have to stop being nasty to each other. I get it. It's very easy to do that in this forum because it's an open forum. Nobody knows who you are. You can say whatever you want. Come in, come out, be done. And I'm over that. Like, I really don't care that you think the previous president was Satan reincarnated. I really don't care if you think the current president isn't going to be in there for very long because his VP is going to become... I don't care a damn about any of that stuff. Let's get over that. Yes, I'm going in a full-on rant mode today because this is bothering me a lot. We're not going to move forward. We're not going to progress in this nation and as a culture if we don't get a whole lot more civilized with one another very, very quickly. I work very hard in my posts to be objective. I have my obvious opinions and beliefs and set of values that I live by, but in my writing, you do not hear it. People are like, oh, you talk about politics too much. I'm like, I have yet to talk about politics at all. I don't bring in any political views. That's not my style. It's not my job in this format. This format, what I do is I stir up thinking. I want you to think about what you believe. Do I skirt the edges and talk about things that maybe make you feel uncomfortable? Sure. But that's by design as well. How do you ever get pushed off of what you believe into thinking about things if you don't become a little bit uncomfortable? So can we become more accustomed to having conversations without the vitriol? Like, I don't want that anymore. And I'm getting to the point where if that starts to creep up on my pages, you're just going to be blocked and out of there. I don't tolerate rancor. I don't mind disagreement. Disagree with me all you want. But ugliness and just outright division, you're the problem. You. If that's you, you're the problem. And we're never going to move forward if we don't get past that kind of reaction. And quite frankly, some of the outlets for information that I listen to, and I listen to things from all angles, they've gotten worse too. Just since Wednesday. Oh my God, it's the worst things ever. Oh my God, it's the best things ever. And it's like, no. Can we be objective observers? Can we stop with the extremism that things don't have to be so black and white? That there is this beautifulness in the gray area? This is bothering me a lot, you guys. And it breaks my heart because I think we're better than this. I don't think we have to be so divided. And we all have a choice individually whether we're going to keep going down this path or whether we're going to choose a better way. Will you commit for the rest of 2021 and beyond to be better individually? Like when you see that kind of thing happening, don't engage in it. Take the higher ground. Be more objective. Be more open to listening to alternative ideas. It'll expand your horizons. It'll make you a better human. It'll make you more empathetic with the other people. Now, you're going to have people that will not be empathetic towards you. They will not want to unify with you. And you just have to know that's just going to be okay. That's going to be the norm. But you lead by example. You be the person that they look up to about how to do it. And I think that's going to help us moving forward. If more people took on this philosophy of what can I do to better understand my fellow human today? If we all did that, would there be ugliness? Would there be divisiveness and derision? No. Sorry I had to get all philosophical on you here, but this is really, really bothering me. And I feel compelled now more than ever before to bring people together and not divide them apart. And that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. Come follow me right over here on Instagram. I am at Jimmy Rants. If you want to engage in the show live, we do go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you so much for being here today, you guys. We also simulcast over here on Facebook. The only winners of a divided nation are the foreign powers that want to harm us. Maybe. As well as on Twitch. Please don't, or people don't like to think for themselves. You're right. They don't, Shirley. But I'm trying to change that. So a reminder, download the Twitch app. It should be in the store that you get apps for your devices. Download the Twitch app. Follow Jimmy Moore Rants. Kelly says, I agree with you, but I also understand people are sick of talking about politics. Well, that's the problem. Kelly, it's not politics when you're taking the middle ground. See, people accuse me of talking politics a lot. I don't talk politics. I talk about the issues. Now, those issues people have made political, but I don't talk politics. You don't see me rah-rah any one candidate or any one party. That's not my style, and I would never do that. We have to become comfortable talking about issues that matter, because issues of life, all of them, have become political. But when you talk about them, doesn't mean you're talking about them in a political way. So there is a distinction there that I hope people can make. But thank you for that. You can also watch us on the replay here on Jimmy Rant's Instagram page. It goes right up on IGTV, so go check it out. It's also up here on Twitch just as soon as the show is over. Once I'm out of YouTube jail tomorrow on Saturday, I will upload this as well. 1 week ban on YouTube. I'll try to not be naughty this week because the next time they ban me for 2 weeks, and then the third time I'm banned forever. So yeah, YouTube, love you. JimmyRants.com is where you can find all the past episodes at the official website. So, all right, guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching here today. Have a wonderful weekend. I have so many articles I want to do next week. I'm almost tempted to do double Jimmy Rants. I'm not, because I don't need that much work on my plate. But I have so much to talk about. So many new studies have come out that I want to share with you. So tune in next week. We'll be here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye.